Thank you, Cynthia, calling the meeting to order at 4:02. Was there any public comments submitted, Cynthia?
No public comment.
No public comment. Then I'm going to roll into the minutes. And I'd like you, the group, just to look at these. There's two sets, remember? We had basically the times that we spent on interviewing the student candidates. So if you could just review those and if there's a motion. Betsy?
I'll move to approve the minutes of April 25th, 2022. Do you want to do both of them at once, Frank?
I'd prefer to do both of them at once if they're both
Okay,
good. Sure.
and the meeting and the second set of notes from May 4th, 2022.
I'll second.
In a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. There's a caller there. Is that you, Sean?
I think it's Steve.
Oh,
Yep, it's Steve.
Oh, it is Steve.
I just added Steve, so I think it's
Thank you.
it's Steve.
Great.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve, for joining. You joined us in progress. We just reviewed the minutes and approved the minutes from the last two meetings. And again, I wanted to thank everyone who participated in those. We took a little bit more. We had a great pool, and we interviewed a good number of very qualified, very outstanding students, and we're delighted with the response. But I know it was a lot of time commitment by our board members and our Emeriti board members that participated in that, and very grateful for that. Thank you. I'm going to just to the committee, I want to introduce our two people who are joining our group, Louis Goffenay and Ron Shuren, are two new board members that we anticipate at our board meeting that's on, wow, is that next week?
It is.
Wow, sorry. That our committee has put forward to the foundation, to the board, and then for the election at the annual meeting. We're delighted to have you both join us today. And I don't know if you could just give a quick introduction, and then I'm going to ask Cynthia just to lead us through some of the orientation slides that we typically go over with new members. Ron, would you mind starting?
Yes, as we were saying, Frank, I came here 25 years ago, and to some extent, I guess I was at least present at the creation. I remember the early discussions of the partnership way back in my days in Gully Hall. I have been here for 25 years, initially in the office of the president at Yukon, and for the past several years in the Department of Political Science. I live on Willowbrook Road, which is right adjacent to downtown, and have previously lived in other college towns. So this will be a good experience building, I hope, on some of what I learned there.
Great, thank you. Louis?
My name's Louis. My parents are French, so the S is silent.
Right.
And so Louis Goffenay, I've actually known Prabhas for a few years, and I've heard good things about the work of the group. So when Cynthia and Sean approached me, I was eager to learn more and see what it's about. I take a few different roles in town. Primarily right now, I work full-time for the schools as a technology integration specialist. So I work with the grades K through 8, seeing how technology is used and supporting families and teachers to use it better. Part-time, I still work for Parks and Rec, where I've been working since I was at E.O. Smith. So I'm on year 12 of part-time with Parks and Rec. And you may remember, but I'm modest about it, but I was last year's Volunteer of the Year. So Cynthia urged me to put that in my background information for the website. So I figured I'd bring that back up, but I'm excited to be a part of it and see what it's about, and excited to move things forward.
May I make a comment, Frank?
Sure.
Louis, when I got through reading about you, I was exhausted. I don't know how you do it all, but bless you for doing it.
Yeah, I tend to stay a little busier than most.
Louis, thank you. I'm sorry I missed, but thank you for correcting me
problem.
on your pronunciation, your name. And yeah, sometimes it's best to go to busy people when you're looking to get things done. And this is a a board that we pride ourselves in being able to move things along, have good, strong discussions and debates, and but also participate where we can in helping the staff and fulfill our mission through events and activities. And I'm going to ask Cynthia to lead us through. Well, oh, welcome, Sean. Cynthia, if you could lead us through the slide deck. Now, usually, I don't know if I've done this virtually before. And part of the reason we do this as a committee is because it's usually some discussion happens. And so a slide will go up and we're talking a little bit about the partnership, maybe a little bit about history or background. So what I'm going to do is suggest, Cynthia, if you could go through the slide deck, and if anybody wants to make a comment or add something, some of our other board members existing to highlight or emphasize a point, please just put a hand up or a finger up, and I'll keep track of that so Cynthia doesn't have to. All right. And then I'll call on you when there's a bit of a break. And certainly, Louis and Ron, if you have questions and stuff, you can just cut right in. All right.
Frank, did you want the committee members to do introductions real quick, or?
Oh, around us. Yes, that would be great. You want to start?
Sure. I think Louis and Ron definitely know me. I've known Ron for a long time, and Louis over at Parks and Rec. So we're looking forward to working with you.
Betsy, and then Diana.
Hi, I'm Betsy Patterson. Ron and I know each other. Louis, I'm glad to meet you. I've been involved with the partnership since day one. I was mayor of the town of Mansfield for, I don't know, 15 years, I guess, while we put the downtown together. And I'm very proud of what it's become and the people who are still involved. And I must say that the best thing we ever did was hire Cynthia Van Zelm. And you'll find that out when you're with us.
Hi, Ron and Louis. Louis, I know from Southeast School. Ron, I don't know that our paths have crossed too often. I'm an emeritus member, and I live in town and I work at Southeast in town. Very, very pleased to continue on the governance committee, and you'll see me volunteering throughout some of the events now. But it's a great place to be at the partnership, and I love the direction we're going, especially with the new strategic planning work we're doing. Welcome.
Thank you.
Cynthia, could I just make a quick comment? Louis, I forgot to tell you, I was also employed at Yukon as the bursar for about 111 years.
Sean, and then Prabhas. Oh, no, we're not getting it. Sorry, Sean. Well, Prabhas and then Kyle.
Sure. Hello again, Louis. Nice to meet you, Ron. Prabhas. I am the former now, or on my way out, student rep on the board, but also lifelong Mansfield resident. Served on the governance committee these last 3 years that I've served on the board. Very excited to echo what Diana said about the future of what's happening in the area, and especially with the partnership driving it. So though I'm leaving the board, I will still be working on under Sean's working group. So I'll still be around in one way or another.
Thanks. Steve and then Kyle. I don't know if Steve, if you're on mute.
Frank, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. and unplug and plug back in. That did the trick this time. Hey, Louis. Hey, Ron. I definitely know Louis, Ron. It's been a few years since I've seen you, but I'm Sean Basington. I'm the Director of Site Planning and Landscape Architecture at Yukon, town resident and board member. Also serve on the Town University Relations Committee. Welcome.
Steve Bacon is on the phone. It looks like it's muted, Steve, but if you can join, that's great. And then we'll wrap up with Kyle. Maybe Steve can only,
I just sent him a text, so we'll see if he sees that.
maybe Steve can only
Can you hear me? Can you hear
there
me
he
now?
is.
Okay. Hi, Ron. Hi, Louis. I'm Steve Bacon. I lived in town for about 40 years. I was on the board for 19 years, and I was president of the board for the last 4 of those 19. And I'm now an emeritus board member. And like Diana and Betsy, I continue on the governance committee, as well as occasional other partnership events and other committees and working groups.
Great. Good afternoon, Ron and Louis. I'm Kyle Muncie. I'm the Director of Brand Partnerships and Trademark Management at the university. I'm in end of my 2nd year, heading into my 3rd year on the board. I serve as the president of the board at this time. I've been at the university for coming up on heading into my 29th year. Worked in a variety of roles based in the athletics department. When Ron kicked me out of my office for a weekend so that President Bush, Senior, could use it for graduation once, and thankfully Betsy was here when I got here as an undergrad in 1989 because I needed a deferment for about 11 months, and she granted me one. So I appreciate, as folks have mentioned, you know, there's a lot going on, and we appreciate your willingness to help out. And Louis, if you thought you were busy before, then Cynthia will be in touch because busy's about to take on a new meeting. So we really do appreciate the willingness to be a part of what we're doing. So thank you.
Cynthia.
Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I will, as Frank said, feel free to jump in, and he will monitor that. And for anybody on the committee who wants to jump in as well, that would be great. So I'm lucky in some ways that Ron and Louis, you're both longtime Mansfield residents, so I don't have to do a complete introduction, but we are finalizing the board handbook, and that's something that all board members receive. And for our current board members, they'll receive an update. We should have that after June 1st, after we have our special meeting after the board meeting with our new Yukon reps. So this is just table of contents about what we're going to talk about. Again, I'll probably go through this fairly quickly in terms of the history and the vision and mission, since you all have been around for some time. So this talks a little bit about when the Downtown Partnership was formed, which was in May 2002 by the council, with the ultimate goal to develop Store Center. And of course, that's evolved from basically a planning function to working with our master developer to moving into sort of the 3rd phase of promotion. And we have, or we will have, as of June 1st, 2022, we will have 14 board members. We will add an additional student. So that gives the breakdown of the board members. Designation, excuse me. So we are also a nonprofit, a 501c3. That was one of my first tasks from Matt Hart, who was the assistant town manager at the time, was to get us that status, which helps us with various grants. So then this is a little bit left over from our previous strategic plan. So this is something our consultant worked on to really show the progress that we had made. And I won't, again, go into detail. I'll send this to you all afterwards, but it goes through the concept plan into the various grants that we received, which, you know, we were extremely fortunate to get about $26 million in federal, state, and local funding for the downtown. So we were there at the right time, and we had the right people in the state legislature too supporting us. So about 2016 is when, been a little bit before that, when Leyland Alliance, our master developer, started to sell off 2 parts of the built storage center. And at the end of the presentation, I might pop in a property owner map, because that's one that I think is really advantageous so that people understand who owns what, because it does get a little bit confusing. It's not a completely straight line either. So then here's our mission and vision, which we put together a couple of years ago, hasn't changed a lot. You'll see again, the mission really evolved to the continued development, management, promotion of downtown stores, which was the name that we adopted. And I won't go into the background on that unless you have about 2 or 3 hours to discuss that. But it's a good thing. So, and it's also important to know what we consider downtown stores when we're marketing, promoting the downtown. And we really want to still continue to get downtown stores in everybody's lexicon. Yukon was amazing about getting that out to its team when this transition happened. And we're continuing to try to promote that this whole area is downtown stores. So our other property owners at Stores Commons, University Plaza, Liberty Bank Plaza, the high school, town hall, community center, Moss Sanctuary, et cetera, et cetera. But I just wanted to mention that because that's important in terms of what we also include on our calendar of events that are going on in other pieces of our promotion. So then we put in 2 new slides on our strategic plan. And as a couple of committee members have mentioned, this was a great, really Sean kind of got us going on, it was a good time with everything, coming out of COVID, through COVID, and then hopefully out of the majority of the COVID issues, to bring on a new team to help us develop a plan for the next 3 years. And so we brought on Street Sense and work with their team to develop a strategic plan, which was approved by the board in early 2022. And you'll see the 5 main categories of focus, public realm, promotion and marketing, tenant mix, private realm, and administrative capacity. And I'm pretty sure Ron has a copy of the strategic plan. I think Louis might as well. If not, I'll get that to you, Louis. Mm-hmm. But this is just kind of a quick overview of our plan. And then, sorry. There we go. So out of the plan came an implementation plan with about 11 strategies, initial strategies for the first year. And out of that, we put together several working groups. So we have a promotion and public spaces group, which Sean is leading, as Prabhas alluded to. We have property owner / business owner engagement, which is led by Steve Farino, who I'm sure many of you know, who owns Farino Realtors, and then sustainable funding, which Kyle leads. So these groups have been meeting pretty diligently for the last probably 2 months or so. And the next step is for them to prioritize about 3 key tasks that they want to work on with the board and the working groups and others to work on by around August or so. We have another meeting with our consultant team from Street Sense as part of their contract, and they'll help us work through implementing those tasks, see if there's any challenges, what the opportunities might be. We will do one more session with them about 3 months after that, and then their contract with us will be completed. So partnership budget, it has changed slightly from last year. So we were able to get an increase up to 160,000 annually from 150,000 from the town and the university for the next fiscal year. We have about $10,000 in membership. So we started a membership campaign early on in the Development of Store Center to try to get people to buy into what we were trying to create. And we had several members. The membership has gone down a little bit, as you may expect, when you're sort of in a more sort of steady promotion role rather than a rah-rah, let's get everybody involved. So that's something that Sustainable Funding Group will continue to look at. And then about 5 years ago, at the behest of then town manager Matt Hart, he suggested that the partnership start to work on economic development townwide. And we have an agreement with the town for a fee for service for us to conduct economic development townwide. We are going into the last year of the second contract. It's a 3-year contract. Mainly, I mean, we all kind of work on it, but mainly me, Kathleen Patterson, and then our new admin, Josh Stern, are probably Denise focuses mainly on events in the downtown and some fundraising efforts. We have a healthy fund balance. We were told by our last strategic planning consultant that to try to keep your fund balance basically at your operating budget, and that's what we've continued to do. So we've been fortunate to have a fund balance. We have used it for special items, including funding Street Sense, our strategic planning consultant. So here's our org chart. That's me in the middle, the executive director. Senior communications manager is Kathleen Patterson, and I'm sure many of you know Kathleen. She's been with the partnership, I think, 15 years. I've been with the partnership for 20. Event coordinator is Denise Kegler. Denise has really continued to improve our events that we do, and she's very creative. She's been in the partnership, I think, about 3 years now. And then about 2 months ago, Josh Stern joined the partnership as a part-time admin, and he's been really great. He's an excellent minute taker, and so I love that about him. And he's been a great addition. So then board expectations, this basically indicates what the expectations are for the board. And I did send to Ron and Louis sort of signing this, that you commit to this. There's a couple of things that I would point out. Volunteering at 2 events annually, that's at least 2 events, I would say, is something that we really do continue to need from our board. Just actively participating in the partnership board, being a financial supporter. I won't go over all of these, but and I think you have those that I sent in your packet on Thursday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then here are our board members. So we've obviously met a few of them today. So I think you all know Ryan, certainly Ron does. And Brian Coleman, who's also on the town council. He's a town appointee. He came on probably early this year. Mario Conjura is with People's United Bank, soon to be M&T Bank. So he had been working out of the store's office, but he's in Colchester a lot of his time. Steve Farino, I mentioned Steve earlier. Rachel Goldberg, if the bylaws are changed, she will become one of our student reps. She is a student at Yukon. I think everybody knows Tony Moran, our mayor, and she is also our vice president. Colby Tremblay will also come on the board after our June 1st special meeting. Emily Wicks, who is the director of operations for the Ballard Puppetry Museum. And then Kara Workman, and Kara has a couple of roles. She has been the long time head of events at Yukon, and now she is Senior Director of Operations in the President's Office. So involvement options, I think I also sent this to Ron and Louie, but we do like board members to serve on at least one committee, and the committees are listed right there. Executive has designated roles, it's our officers and then an at-large. So that one's not one that you would get on unless you were in one of those positions, but certainly finance and growth, governance, the festival. And then again, volunteering at 2 events per year, and then just acting as an ambassador for the partnership and the downtown. And then this just goes over some of the responsibilities. The executive committee doesn't meet that often, generally as needed for personnel issues, and also conducts my evaluation. The governance committee really focuses on engaging board members, nominates committees, plans for leadership succession, and reviews the bylaws. Finance and growth focuses on our budget. They review our quarterly financials, which go to the board after they're reviewed. Excuse me, and I think I sent Louie and Ron the dates of those when those two committees meet, as well as the festival. And then here again, our working groups, a little more information about what they do. Kyle and I have been meeting pretty consistently with one of Hart Realty that represents Connecticut State Pension Fund. And we've also met with Oak Tree several times. We have brought in the property owners to our board meetings at times as well, usually an executive session, to talk about what's going on with leasing and any other issues. We are planning a social event with our businesses, which you'll get an invite soon, but we're really trying to start up more sort of come as you are networking event, no agenda, just chat with board members, chat with fellow businesses. And we will be doing this at 5:30 on June 22nd at Hops 44. So put that in your calendar. Promotion public spaces, we've met several times. We are a couple of things under that working group is, which I had actually been working on with the town, is signage for the entire town, consistent signage. Obviously, this group would be most interested in the downtown store signage. Some different ideas about marketing in terms, including developing itineraries, and then public space improvements. We do still have about $43,000 that Nature's Medicines gave us a couple of years ago. And so part of this group will start to look at, and Kyle's group too, Sustainable Funding Group, what are our needs for public space improvements in the downtown? And again, sustainable funding, just continue to look at new and varied sources of funding. So here's our calendar. This doesn't include everything, but just when the board meets, and then our various events that are our annual events. We're looking at different events as well, continuing to be conscious of staff time and resources and cost. And but we have a lot of great ideas that have come from the community and volunteers. So hoping to implement some new events either this year or going into next year. So that's it. We're just, again, excited for Ron, you and Louie to be part of the partnership. If you have any questions or if any committee members have any input, I think now would be the time. And then I can also pull up the property map after we have some discussion here, or I can pull it up now if that would be helpful.
Thank you. This is very helpful. I had a chance to review many of these documents before, so I have no specific questions, but it's good to get an overview.
Any questions from you, Louie, or?
No, same as Ron. It was nice to get these ahead of time and be able to look through them. So nothing unexpected and interesting. There's a lot more of a scope than I was expecting,
Mhm.
broader scope.
Any member of the committee that wants to add anything to the presentation at this time? Seeing none, well, thank you, Cynthia, for that. It's very helpful to see it as an existing board member, to hear it again, repeated and see how it evolves. And I think you did a terrific job of incorporating the new strategic planning slide. So thank you very much for doing that. Excellent. Betsy?
I just want to say, Cynthia, that I think you covered everything very well, very precise. Good job.
Thanks, Betsy. Now I got to figure out how to close it out. My IT skills are not the best.
Great. Well, thank you. One of the practices we've had as a board, as a governance committee, has been to conduct interviews with outgoing members. And I was hoping this day would never come, that we would have to actually interview Prabhas as a he's been a significant voice to the governance committee as well as the full board as a student member, and we've gotten sort of used to that standard. And I thought it would be very helpful, and I'm pleased that we have not only our existing board members, some maritime members, but also new members to sort of hear from your standpoint, Prabhas, as a board member, full-fledged board member. But then as the next orientation we do, we're going to be with hopefully two student members. And how do we support them so to make sure that they're successful and that their voice is part of what we advance as a partnership? So I don't know, Prabhas, if you'd like to give a sort of a statement or just your general experience, what this has been as, and what are you reflecting on as you're exiting? And then I look to members of the committee for questions.
Sure. You know, it is bizarre to be at the exit interview stage. That's my first statement. But just to your point of what I'm reflecting on, what I'm thinking about, especially from the student angle, I think one of my early goals, and one of the things that, you know, was in my interview and something that I really thought about coming into this group, was how do you bring more Yukon students into the area, and what does that look like? I think that was something that we talked a lot about early, and looking back on these 3 years, I think I was able to answer that question in some capacity, but there is still much more to understand. And given that I'm on my way out, it's also kind of symbolic of the fact that the Yukon student body changes. You know, every few years you have a huge change in students. So, you know, my memory of what businesses existed when I was a freshman will be very different from what, you know, a freshman will recall in their senior year 3 years later. So, you know, a lot of change is always happening. So I think, you know, I'm glad that we'll hopefully have two student voices that are coming from different parts of campus, adding in some well-needed input as to what students want to see. I think the project that I worked on last spring, of you know, working with our consulting group and trying to understand that question a little bit more, gave us some insight, but there's always more work to do in that realm of understanding. So I hope that that's something that we can encourage our student reps to seek out on their own, but also give them some guided thought on, you know, how can we answer that question of how can we get more students interacting with this area? What is the specific measurement we want to see, and, you know, how can we best do that? And I think that's a great brainstorming activity from day one that I got to work on, and one that I think these students will have well in their mind coming into the position. And then last bit of thoughts on your direct question, Frank. I think in terms of support, I mentioned it at our last board meeting. I think I felt incredibly supported especially with the ideas of, being able to bounce off these ideas in these meetings or in full board meetings. And, I think that's something that the students will also recognize, that they are supported. And it's just, helping them ease into using their voice and bringing their ideas to the table.
Very good. It feels like it takes me 3 years to warm up to something, and you just sort of jumped right into it. I want to make sure that we're providing, the student members room to jump in, ask questions. Did you feel any hesitancy in asking questions?
Personally, no. I thought it was pretty easy to ask questions to someone, any of the full-time staff. I think that's where the majority of my questions went. I think for these students, just establishing direct lines of communication early. So if you have questions regarding X, Y, and Z, here is your point of contact. If you're on a committee and you have, so just, sometimes those are unsaid, but misunderstood. So it's good to just say from, their start, like if you have questions about, RSVP for board events, if you need any questions about board packets, anything, and kind of dividing who the main point of contact should be for certain things. I'm sure we can imagine the frequently asked questions that will be asked, and just letting the students know, here's who you could, refer your questions to if you need any help. And being upfront with that and very clear will help them feel supported from even before they start.
Sorry, my internet is going in and out. When you spoke with other students about the partnership, what was their response? Did they have a sense of what it was, or how is it? How are we doing getting our mission out? Do they know what this is all about, or was it always new to them when you brought it up?
I think early on when I joined the partnership, it was very new to the students that I was talking to. That was my early sophomore year when I, fully joined the summer after freshman year, fully joined the board. So talking to friends early about that, students, it was very new. But explaining what the partnership's role wasn't anything difficult. It was just the fact that they didn't know that there was a board or something that kind of oversaw the area. A lot of them just thought it was kind of self-governance in that sense. But then mentioning, I think the festival was an easy connecting point, right? So saying that the festival is something that our board works on. So that was a really easy identification point for most students. And then as I went on through Yukon, I think the more I shared about my involvement with the board, the more students started to, at least the students that I were talking to, started to understand just what the partnership does, or how the partnership exists in the big picture. And I will say, I think my name and my face was associated with a lot of those ideas or projects. When we did the one with the consulting group, leading that one, or just even me sharing about what the partnership does, I think that helped a lot of my peers kind of connect the dots between what this position is and what I actually do on the partnership. So it's a little bit about using the self-branding, I guess, of what we're working on.
Want to make sure it's open for other board members or anyone who has a question for Prabhas. Betsy? Oh, you're on mute.
Unmute, okay. I've known Prabhas before he went to high school, I'm pretty sure. I met him first with his dad at some event, and I don't remember which one. But I just want to say, Prabhas, that you have been an excellent student leader and board member. And anyone who comes behind you is going to have a really excellent example to follow, and to try to what's the right word here, to try to live up to. And it's been a pleasure knowing you. And I wish you good luck in the future. And I hope that you will not forget us and be involved with us in whatever way you can, whenever. And thank you very much for all you've brought to this board.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Not just for that, but for all of your support since I started. And I do remember meeting you for the first time, actually, with my father did the introduction. It was my brother's Eagle Scout ceremony way back
That's
when.
right. That's right. You're right. Absolutely. Now I remember. Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Diana?
Prabhas, I echo everything Betsy said. It's been great, and wish you all the luck. But I'm hoping, I guess that leads into my question of how do we keep seeing you as that next level person? You're not a Yukon student. You're not in our, I mean, you know us already, but like you and Louis, that live in town, that are out of Yukon, how do we keep you at your level and your age now and where you are in life, coming downtown, into the, that's, I guess, where I'd love to see your mind go next. If you can keep us in mind and send us, ideas and information, and, you may have some ideas now, but, I love to know what gets you guys, you folks into this downtown now.
I think it works out in the sense that I'll still be on the public spaces and promotion working group with Sean. So everything that you've asked, it will be things that I will definitely be thinking about moving forward. And I think as I start work and I'll be up in Boston, near Boston for a while, and I'll be thinking about what you just asked in a different context, like what is bringing me to different parts of the city or other cities I may visit. What are the things that are pulling me into these, downtown areas? What are the events? What are the, activities? And those will be things that I will take ample pictures of and send to Sean and discuss with the group of, how can we replicate the things that are going on and are successful, and how can we bring that to our, I say our, even if I'm not here, it will always be, my hometown. So those are definitely things that I'll be thinking about, and, hopefully we'll start to generate some ideas to capture not just students, like you said, but, the residents in town that might not be directly affiliated with the university anymore.
Great. Thanks and good luck, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kyle?
I just can't help but think how much time we're wasting saying goodbye to Prabhas, because it's so apparent that he's not going anywhere. Like he's literally going to be, hounding all of us to be a part of all these conversations. And we're going to be smart enough to screw up just enough that he's going to come in and say, no, this is the way you were supposed to do it. So, I mean, Prabhas, we'll give you the farewell tour. It's kind of like Brady. It's like Brady, right? You want to retire, and you want to retire again, and you want to. So it's fine, but you'll be back on the board next year. We'll have you fill in somebody else's spot. So enjoy the year off, and we'll see you back here for orientation next year.
Sounds good, Kyle. Sounds good.
Thank you very much, Prabhas. I really do appreciate
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And, as a governance committee, I have to say that our sights have been raised, and our expectations of what we are expecting of student reps, as well as all board members, has increased. And so you really did lift our whole group. Thank you. If you have anything else, if you have any additional suggestions about specifically what we could do, Prabhas, I would just call us or write to us, and please send pictures, keep us updated.
Of course.
I'm going to ask Cynthia if you just give us update on our annual meeting. And if there's anything last minute that we need to be thinking about.
Yeah, no, I think we're in good shape. I'm finishing up some talking points for Kyle, Frank, Diana, and Steve for their various pieces of event. So hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll have that to you all. We've got a good, I think we've got about 35, 40 attendees for the meeting, and several will take the tour. If you haven't told me if you're doing both, if you can, because I know Kara wants to make sure she has the appropriate number of tour guides. But yeah, we're coming to the end of the planning and looking forward to it. And I think we'll see some people we haven't seen in a while that are also interested in the innovation partnership building. So I think we're in good shape.
Excellent. That's great. It'll be a nice reunion to see some old friends, and maybe some new ones too. And thank you, Kyle, for securing our speaker and the and Cynthia. I'm glad that worked out with getting the IPB. It's a great connection for the university and the town collaborating together on something. So that's wonderful. Item 7 on our agenda is the nomination of committee members and chairs. It's as an attachment. I think we've reviewed this. We talked about this before. I'm just going to look it over quick. And it does have for governance. I don't know if I spoke directly to Steve, Betsy, and Diana. I'm just assuming we're hoping you want to stay on. So we've left you on this list. A very important part. You've been a tremendous help to me as chair of the governance committee, and also just the wisdom that you bring to these important issues as governance has had to transition through a strategic plan. It always puts you a little bit on edge. You want to make sure that you're doing everything right, and having you guys as keep us with a steady keel has been invaluable, and I really appreciate that input. I believe, so do we just need, we're going to advance this list to the full membership for review, or is that right?
Yes, so I think it would be good to have a vote to move this committee slate. And then to be blunt and honest, I think I got away from this kind of in the interim time periods. We just sort of put people on committees, so it really is supposed to be governance. So when Louis and Ron let us know, what committees they want to be on, we'll run that through governance and run it through the board. So my apologies on that end. We've done it on a yearly basis, and we used to, it's been a little more ad hoc than it had been, so.
Okay,
But
so we'll
yes.
just go forward with this. I'll look for somebody to make that motion to advance this slate. Betsy?
I move to send to the board the Downtown Partnership Committee list as presented on 5/23/22 at the Governance Committee meeting.
Second. Kyle? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Steve. The committee slate is passed and will be advanced, and then Ron and Louis, as part of, when you go through your packet, and you, if you have any questions, certainly of governance or finance, just ask any one of us. And if once you make that selection, we'll probably advance that at the next meeting. Let's see. Update on strategic plan working groups. Thank you, Cynthia, during the orientation. Good update. Was there anything else to add from the work groups? I don't know,
I
Sean.
don't think so, unless Sean or Kyle have anything that they wanted to add as chairs.
No. All right, just wanted to leave that open on the agenda. And then meeting dates in June and July. I think what we had said, Cynthia, is that we were going to drop June and July because we have the annual meeting in June. Really don't have, we do need to, in anticipation of the student being an additional student position, rep position being added at the special meeting, we would have an orientation for the two students, that'd be Colby and Rachel, at some point. So would that constitute a formal meeting of governance? So if we want to get that done during the summer?
Yeah, it depends how many people are there. I mean, I think if it's one committee member and me, it's probably okay. But if it's more than one, I think that does constitute a meeting.
I don't think we need to have a formal meeting. I think it's, I don't know if there's a volunteer that wants to pair up with Cynthia, member of the board of the governance committee, that wants to volunteer to help with orientation of the students. Diana?
Yeah, I can do that because it'll be after school's out, I think, right?
Yeah.
Probably not, Diana. Probably be before that.
So
Really?
I mean,
Actually, it could be in July.
Oh, do you want to wait that long? Okay, we can, whatever.
We could.
Yeah, we could.
and I can do it at your time is limited then, you know what I mean? I can do it at an after
Yeah.
school time, but you just got to work around my hours. That's the only thing. But I'm happy to help.
That'd be great. I'll serve as a backup in case it doesn't work. I'll be your backup, Diana. But thank you very much. We'll do a orientation based upon the slides that we presented today for the students. All right, is there anything else for the good of the group?
I would just say, Frank, if the governance committee doesn't meet, if people are comfortable with this, because Ron and Louie will probably want to start getting integrated into our committees. We could do it, whatever, unofficially, and then officially at the governance, because the governance committee wouldn't meet till the end of August.
Right. I think that was our plan, is that we would have end of August would be our next committee meeting. And that in the interim, we'd have a orientation for the two students. And then the student, there may be a student that wants to be on governance, selects that. They would be invited to the August governance committee. Okay. Anything else? Oh, Sean?
Can you hear me okay, Frank? Okay, sorry for the mic issues, folks. We're in the middle of moving our offices and I've got things cobbled together here for technology. And Prabhas and I have already talked, and you heard my words about him at the board meeting. So in essence, I sent him something privately in chat while my mic wasn't working. But we'll all miss him. Just a quick update on orientation. Some of us volunteered for orientation at Yukon last week. I will say we should think maybe how we do it next year. This is now a couple of times that I've done it before and after the pandemic, and I'm not sure it's a great use of our time and resources. For the 4 to 5 session that I was at, which is basically at the end of the day, I counted 5, 6 at best people that visited the table in the course of that hour, 2 of which, and I shared this with Kathleen last week, Cynthia, I don't know if it reached you yet, but only 2 of those 5 or 6 had questions. Only 2 of those hit the QR code on the table after I told them what it was about. And there just wasn't it's not a ding on us or interest in us or the downtown. It's not a very well attended event. And to be honest with you, I think it's a very strategic decision on our part to conclude the day's events at the bookstore. And it's you make a choice as a parent walking in those doors, whether you're going to follow the expo signs going up the stairs to know what these tables are about, or you take that time to shop around the bookstore looking for stuff. So it's just something for us to think about next year. I know some time and resources go into it. I don't know if we get a lot out of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good feedback, Sean. I'll be doing it. I have to replace somebody, but I was gonna do it this week anyway, and I've gotten that same, Kathleen didn't have a lot of folks. It's unfortunate because when we were in Wilbur Cross, I think we did 1 or 2 years at the Yukon bookstore. I mean, it was pretty busy, especially with freshmen. And we got a lot of traffic, but I don't know if that's changed or just the whole schedule. It's a completely different time too. I think it was like 1 to 2:30 or something like that previously.
Do you
Ron?
do anything to reach out to new graduate students?
We have, Ron, in the past. We've also done their table. I don't know if they're doing that this year. They usually do it, I think, in August, but if you know, that would be great. Because
Yeah.
that's just that's a couple hours once.
Yeah.
And this is, like Sean said, it's a big commitment,
Mhm.
the regular orientation.
And honestly, it's not really something that needs to be staffed. I mean, there might be some middle ground, but I really think it's the venue that's part of the problem here. It's tucked away 2 staircases above, and you have to notice the sign or remember you were told about it earlier in the day on the agenda. And at that point, you just want the day to be done as a parent and as a student, and you might spend a few bucks in the bookstore and you're out.
Yeah, and they do require you to be there. So
Right.
that's part of the,
It's
I mean, I asked my daughter why she didn't come and visit me because she was done with her orientation about that time, and she was just spent from the day. It's a long day. It's 9 hours.
Mhm. That's a very good point about board member time and commitment to as well as staff. Right, and we're putting a lot into this, and what's the yield on it? I don't know that it's hitting the mark that we need to influence groups and improve our visibility. That may not be the best vehicle. So let's keep our thoughts open. Thank you, Ron, for thinking about the grad.
One way we might do it is that I noticed everyone at that point already had a Yukon satchel of whatever literature from the day. Since a lot of our stuff tends to be printed material, and even a QR code could go with that. Maybe there's a way to find its way into that bag earlier in the day, so at least they have the resources without us staffing a table that nobody finds. I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah, I like that. Any other observations or comments for the committee? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Betsy, reluctantly, you want to stay inside, I'm sure.
Move to adjourn.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you at the.
Did we get a second? I'm sorry, Frank.
Oh, I thought it's Diana.
I'm sorry, I was writing. Okay.
Looks all in favor to go outside. See you all at the annual meeting, if not at a orientation.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Prabha.
See you then. Thanks.
Bye, Prabhas.
Bye, Ron. Nice
Bye.
meeting you.
Bye, everybody.